we'll bring you that right now.
Yeah, what do you mean it's exciting for them? It's exciting for us.
Well, I mean, it's exciting. The entire tournament is exciting for us.
I see someone in chat, and by the way, if you want to join us in chat, you want to send some IRC messages, have any questions about what's going on tonight, throughout these games or throughout the rest of the weekend, do sign on to ggClassic on QuakeNet. We're happy to answer your questions. We have some moderators there that can, answer your questions as soon as you throw them down. Some people say, hey, wow, Just Your Average Joe's won game one, which is kind of a surprise. Just Your Average Joe's newer on the scene than Curse. Curse is a long-standing history, but really they won game one in a pretty dominant fashion, and then game two it looked like they had everything under control there, up until Spellsy's disconnect, which kind of just turned everything around. And certainly, I mean, the game was still in the balance. It could have gone either way, but it did look like it was slightly in Just Your Average Joe's favor.
Yep, and up until that point, Just Your Average Joe's had about a 1k gold lead around there, so it wasn't a huge lead, but looked like they had a slight advantage. We see some of the same bans as last time going down here, the Vigar ban being aimed at Nijaki. I actually say it Vigar instead of Vigar. I don't know, I just started saying it Vigar in my head, and
I always say Vigar too.
Yeah.
That's totally what it is.
I mean, I think it sounds better as Vigar, but I think all of these bans are basically the same as last time.
Yeah, so far no divergence from the last game's bans. Of course, always so impressive how much deference Nijaki gets. He played Vagar in a couple tournament games, and no one will ever let him play him again. so that is that. Just a lesson to all of you, want to be an upcoming pro players. If you're really good at a champion, don't dominate him. Don't dominate with him the first couple of times you show up on the scene, because now forevermore I think Nijaki will be linked to Vagar play.
Well, on the other hand, though, that really, helped get his popularity out there because people knew him as the guy that plays Vigar, and if you have that label on you, you're more well known than maybe other people on your team.
Yeah, so we see the exact same bans, but what we do see different is first pick is going to blue team, which is Just Your Average Joe's this time. They first pick Kog'Maw. So far in this finals weekend, which of course relates to just the previous two games, Kog'Maw has been like the high priority pick. We will see if Cop goes with Graves again to counter. See if Janna comes out. Oh, it looks like they're taking away Nunu, and that is a good idea because I think there's no scarier combination than Nunu Kog'Maw, because once they get a couple levels under the belt, once that Blood Boil has been leveled up from Bloodlust, once Kog'Maw has sufficient levels in Bioarcane Barrage, it is just a ridiculous force in lane that really cannot be countered in my opinion.
Yep, and Nocturne also being picked up for the jungle on Curse's side. So that's actually a champion we haven't seen yet in either of the first two games. Janna being shown for Just Your Average Joe's. Janna Kog'Maw also a very good combination, partially because Janna is just a really good champion. As Sotir will probably tell you, I think Janna might be his most played champion.
Oh, it's by far, well actually, maybe over the course of history it's my most played. This season I played more Corki, but I mean, let's not get too excited about my support play here. I do feel like Janna has been the strongest support champion for a couple of years. That being said, she did receive a significant nerf in the last patch that a lot of people are like, oh really, that's even a nerf? I didn't even know the attack damage bonus stayed when the shield broke. Well, it certainly does. It certainly helped out with trades, helps out with later team fights. So now essentially a lot of times you're the person who gets that bonus, that 50 attack damage, which is huge, that's a free BF sword, a lot of times it just disappears almost instantaneously. We see Lee Sin picked up. Lee Sin wasn't too impressive last game. Zion Spartan played him top against Vladimir, but really couldn't handle that lane in my opinion. I mean, it didn't go too far against him. He was able to farm up, but every exchange did go in Vladimir's favor unless there was a gank coming in.
Yep, and so we'll see if Curse does pick up Vladimir again. They still have a little bit of time. They're still not showing any champions though. Tristana being shown now, and we'll have to wait until Nijaki chooses somebody, but if they do go with the Tristana Nunu lane, that would be... Oh, and there is the Vigar pickup immediately locked in, so Vigar will be going top.
Oh, Vigar, really?
Or not Vigar, sorry, Vladimir. What was I saying? I did
Well,
not
of
remember.
course it's Vigar. If it's Nijaki and it's an AP champion, it must be Vigar.
Yeah, see, that's just like how it's so ingrained in my mind. If I say Nijaki, this is the first champion that comes to my mind. But sorry about that. Yeah, Vladimir and Tristana is locked in. So with Tristana's Q, that's going to be so much bonus attack speed with Nunu as well.
Right, and she is. I think Tristana is technically the highest scaling AD carry when you consider her range and her attack speed steroid. So of course, when you put Nunu on top of that, that is going to be a huge amount of damage coming out. It looks like Olaf is being picked up. Oh my goodness, and maybe a Fizz. Fizz is being shown. We'll see how that turns out. Vladimir pick up again, so that is a pretty good counter to the Lee Sin, as we saw last game. I was kind of iffy on it going into it, but I did think whoever would take the earlier advantage would kind of stomp the lane. And Vladimir kind of took an early advantage, even though he did get ganked a couple of times. He was just able to force Lee Sin, not really out of lane, but force him back, force him away from those minions time and time again. Although the Fizz was shown, it is going to be Ahri once again. Of course, Captain Korea played Ahri last game, and it looks like another Olaf pick. They did pick Olaf the first game. Oh, and we see a Powelter Sejuani pickup. Of course, not locked in, so we will have to wait and see on that. And yeah, I am uncertain about that. I mean, I have never seen a Sejuani in competitive play run top, so I think this might get changed out at the last moment here. Now it's going into Karthus, so Curse is just playing with us. So I guess we'll let them select before they finally lock in there.
Yep, and actually, what Just Your Average Joes might do is send Olaf top rather than in the jungle, and have Lee Sin in the jungle, so that it will be Olaf against Nijaki, or not? Yeah, against Vladimir.
Right, but I don't understand how they expect that to work, so much better. I don't know that it does, but we'll see how they swap it around here. They're doing a lot of swaps. Everyone on their team is over swaps now. That is like a penta swap. It's pretty exciting. And are they done? Okay, they are. They
Yep, looks like they are done.
Yes, they are done. Everyone's in their, in their proper, location there. The one thing about Nunu and Tristana, we saw last game that the Nunu Kog'Maw, or rather the Janna Kog'Maw, didn't work out for Curse, and now it's now on Just Your Average Joes, but it didn't work out for Curse because Graves Taric had so much burst damage. Tristana has a lot of burst damage on her own, but there is no possibility for a stun to come down out of that lane. So previously it was Taric would stun, and before people would get unstunned, that Graves would decimate all, and just throw out that buckshot, throw out that collateral damage, land the ignite, and the fight was over. Whereas with Tristana, you have a ton of burst damage, maybe even more burst damage than that Graves, but you're not going to be stunned. So people are going to land the heals, land their exhausts, and generally move around and perhaps avoid that burst damage. Whereas when you were stunned, and that was the end of it.
Yep, and it looks like actually Nijaki is going to be taking exhaust on Karthus, so that is just another, besides his wall, another source of a slow to make sure people stay in his circle of death, and so that he can land those little Skittles. And
Skittles? That's a new. I've never heard him called that.
Really? You've never heard it being? Oh no, his lay waste, I think it's called.
Yeah, it is called lay waste.
Yeah, they're called Skittles as well. But so we see one bad red also taking exhaust on Lee Sin, so that's gonna really help out his ganks a lot, even though Lee Sin doesn't really need that much help on ganks.
Right. Oh my goodness, Skittles. Well, I've eaten many a Skittles in my time, if that's what those are.
So we have about 2 minutes left before we get in game. Again, this is game 3 of Just Your Average Joes against Curse. Game 1 went to Just Your Average Joes. They played a pretty dominant game, actually. They had control the entire game. They got ahead early, getting first blood and second blood, and they were just able to use that advantage and keep up the pressure and take the game. Meanwhile, in the second game, they went ahead by a little bit, and it was a pretty even game for most of the time, but the Taric Spellsy disconnected, so that meant Curse was able to gain the advantage back and really win a 4v5 team fight, and then use that to win the game. So it is 1-1. This is game 3, which we are bringing to you right now.
Yeah, let's forestall the bandwagons of scumbag curse, because I know everyone loves to do that and everyone loves to go post on general discussion. Oh my goodness, you killed a team that had an AFKing player. But it was kind of interesting because just your average Joes didn't really give him an option. Shyvana took like a little bit of poke damage and then he just decided to run down middle. So Curse really had no choice but to kind of act against that, and they came around and engaged the fight. But just your average Joe's wasn't willing to sit in the base, didn't really want to wait it out. I'm uncertain if they knew whether or not Spellsy was going to reconnect, but yeah, they kind of forced Curse's hand, because at first Curse noticed that Spellsy was disconnected. They backed up off of him. It was a really great show of sportsmanship. But then just your average Joe's got impatient or didn't know if Spellsy was going to reconnect, and so they just continued the battle. And that was much to their detriment, as they gave away what was a pretty sizable lead. Losing that team fight and then losing the ensuing Baron.
Yep, and yeah, so just your average Joe's actually tried to push down mid turret, and really Curse had been backing off a little bit, just doing a little bit of poke damage, not really engaging in any fights. But once just your average Joe's tried to push down mid, they had no choice but to defend it. So that's when the team fight erupted, and that's when they won that 4v5. So now it looks like we're gonna get into the game. Here are the skins. We have seen that Lion Dance Kog'Maw skin every time.
Every game. And I think that's the same Lee Sin skin as last time. That is a new Janna skin, though. We didn't see Frost Queen Janna last game. I think last game was Hextech or something along those lines.
No, it was the other one. I think it was, what was the other one called?
I don't know, Roller Girl?
No, there are three skins. There's the Frost Queen, there's the Hextech, and there's one more. And I think it was the other one.
Okay, it was that one, the unnamed one. I should know, my favorite champion. Unfortunately, I'm not big on the skins. People always tell me, "Oh, you should buy some skins." Well, it doesn't really make me play any better, so I'm not, really convinced that I should buy them. That being said, I do understand the fun in them. We have Phantom Karthus there for Nyjackie. That is actually one skin that I own, Buccaneer Tristana. But from Nunu, Nocturne, and Vladimir, we see the base skins already on their base skin. So 3 base skins on Curse. I think that's a really big weakness for their team.
Yep, and I mean, you did say skins don't help, but sometimes skins do help, I would like to argue. Actually, in reality, though, the Annie Frostfire skin, yes. I think, it does give her an advantage because you can't see if the stun is up as easily.
Okay, that is the one example of a skin that works. Well, actually, to be honest, the other one that might give an advantage is Lion Dance Kog'Maw, just because I feel like the effects from his ultimate and all that sparkling and fizzing is actually more like computer intensive. It always slows down slower computers. I feel I've heard a lot of people say that. I've ran the game on weaker computers and had that issue myself. I was like, oh my goodness, stop using your ultimate, it's cheating. What we see here again, and I always mention this in our community shoutcasts games, well, actually, this invade is actually going forward, so...
Actually, an axe lands on Nocturne, but they're just going to back off. Ahri and Nunu about to fight it out here, actually. Just getting those auto attacks in on Elements as he's backing off. Karthus using his little poke to make Ahri back off, which she does. So a little bit of invade looked like was going to happen, but they both back off, both go back to their own jungles. Looks like, I mean, they have the ward down from Curse at the raids here, but besides that, not much else. Looks like Nocturne and Nunu are going to sit here waiting for the creeps to spawn. Karthus actually coming in here, maybe looking for a chance to get in here and steal a big race or something like that.
That would be pretty hilarious. Yeah, I thought, maybe Olaf would follow up with those axe throws. Could have certainly forced a flash there, as you can pretty much constantly slow someone with, good use of those axes. But just fall back, and Karthus comes in. Oh, no. Almost gets some kills with those Skittles, but just misses out. No Skittles for the Karthus, and Nyjackie says, so sad. Why don't Skittles give me gold? That would be great. That would be brilliant. But they're giving Lee Sin a lot of a really strong pull there at Bread Buff, so he's pretty stoked, even though they took a little bit of his gold, because his whole team was worried that those Skittles were going to steal gold, so they instead killed the small race for Lee Sin.
Yep, and we actually see that...
Oh man, top is it's wow, that Olaf is like, oh my goodness, I have an axe and I know how to use it. Kobolds are already taken down to half-life, but Olaf in the meantime runs like really far back in lane. He's like, I'm done here. I'm gonna run all the way back to my turret. Now he's back up. Busy last hitting, lands another axe. So lots of axes to the face. Unfortunately, he's at like half mana, so he's not going to be able to sustain that for too long. Meanwhile, Poboltron Vladimir's like, oh, I actually don't use mana, by the way, so just so you know, I've sustained pretty well.
But actually, Lee Sin's coming here, landing.
Oh, beautiful. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness, that is so unfortunate. Oh, I think that last minion allowed Vladimir to get level 2. So it almost happened before he hit level 2. Had, that gank come in, a split second sooner, he wouldn't have had Troll Pool, wouldn't have been able to get away from that, because all he would have had would have been Ghost. And, with the, Ghost on Olaf, with those slows coming down from the Tempest, Cripple, and from Red Buff, he probably would not have been able to get away. So, lucky for Vladimir that timing suited him well. Mid lane, Ahri is pushing, and this is the second game in a row we've seen Ahri kind of aggressively push that lane out. And bottom, there's a couple shenanigans going down. Kog'Maw doing a really good job of poking. I kind of suspected Tristana to take the advantage early on, but no do. That Kog'Maw using the shield and the W. So while I was saying I really like Nunu and Janna together, or Nunu and Kog'Maw together, I really like Janna and Kog'Maw together as well, just not against that Graves super burst combination.
Yep, looked like Lee Sin wanted to come in here for maybe an in-lane gank or something, but they're just going to go around and either wait for the Vladimir or go for a little bit of counter-juggling. Looks like they're just going to wait in this bush here. Maybe waiting for Nocturne, actually.
Oh
but
my God.
Nocturne
look at Crumbs. Look at Nocturne. He went all around the jungle. I guess the wolves were not spawned, or I don't even know if he went down there, but he just went for like a really strange route, which is going to certainly catch them by surprise. So we see a gank and a counter gank. Oh, man. Well, yeah, I guess they were just a little bit too scared here, but...
actually, the Fear Proc goes off, but they're able to jump on Nocturne, and Vladimir's nowhere near in there, so he has to flash out. But that was an interesting position where the Lee Sin and the Olaf, were both behind enemy lines and were just coming in, and Nocturne actually had gone into their own jungle, so an interesting fight there, but nobody has died. So yeah, I mean that's how that went down. Looks like Curse is taking a bit of a lead so far with their CSing though.
Yeah, 500 gold is pretty substantial. Let's see where that's actually coming in. Top lane is even.
Oh, actually, top lane, a lot of damage going down, and the Ignite and the Vladimir able to pick up the first blood as the tower takes down Olaf.
Yeah, that was, I don't know, I was not actually watching that. It seems a little bit unwise. I mean, I certainly understand Olaf's, attempts, and really they've been focusing on that Vladimir so much, and that's kind of what you have to do to Vladimir, especially against a lot of melee matchups. And I'm kind of was surprised not to see him banned here, but, Olaf didn't have very much mana, just a moment ago, and so I doubt he regained too much mana before that fight went down. Certainly didn't have enough for a lot of consecutive axes, so I don't know what exactly he was thinking. Of course, his reckless blow now doesn't have a mana cost associated with it, just takes away your life. So you might have thought he could have done enough damage with that, but no go that time. Vladimir takes the kill, and now they have a pretty substantial lead, about 700 gold in their favor.
Yep, and I think the Olaf there was just trying to get the first blood before dying to turret, because I don't think he expected to live there, but he wasn't able to take out Vladimir before dying, so that is the first blood going to Curse, and actually he's doing a lot of damage to Pobelter right now, and using that reckless blow, the axe misses though because of the pool, and he just has to back off. Karthus' ultimate actually is going to help bot lane as Tristana... Oh, actually, no, they did not.
It was actually a little bit too late.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, what is happening? I go to look bottom lane. I'm like, oh, what happened there? And, Vladimir goes down. So apparently Olaf actually does counter Vladimir. Does pick up that kill there. Really impressive. But, it's a bad news for bottom lane that Tristana was able to pick up the kill there on Janna. And so far we've seen today Janna, really being picked on. But actually did win the only matchup she was in. So, I guess that's fair enough. I would rather be picked on and win than not be picked on and lose.
Yep, so despite the Karthus ultimate doing some damage to Olaf, he is able to go around and take that Vladimir out. So that puts the kills at 2-1 in favor of Curse, and they are about 1 kill ahead, or no, sorry, 1,000 gold ahead. Also 1 kill ahead though. And now looks like not too much going on. We saw that Olaf went back and got the longsword and the null magic mantle.
Really, the farm advantage has mainly been bottom lane, with Tristana 15 minion kills over that Kog'Maw, 60 to 45, now 61 to 45, and has picked up the kill. So that is a lane that you really prefer not go against your favor, because it's so important to have your AD carry, get all that farm. All the other lanes are pretty even at this point.
Yep, and Karthus being donated this blue by Nocturne. Vladimir actually being confused. I think he's just worried about, upset about the axe hitting him so much. He's asking about the hitbox because the axe is a skill shot and it relies on the hitbox, and I think he just didn't expect some of these axes to hit, and he's actually taken down decently low.
Right. We did see just a moment ago that Olaf threw the axe and then ran up to pick up the axe. In the meantime, he actually had to take a transfuse in the face, but he really wanted to pick up that axe. Every single time he does it, he really wants to go and pick up that axe. Never mind that he's going to take damage. And all he's really getting is a little bit of decreased cooldown. He's really excited about that axe.
Right,
now,
but down at bottom, actually,
waiting in the wings.
We see Lee Sin coming in for in-lane gank, but the Tristana able to disengage from that fight. Yeah, as you said, Nocturne was coming up. It looks like he's going to go take his red. The Olaf coming around behind the back to try to get on this Vladimir, taking him down decently low, but the Vladimir is able to get back as the axe misses.
Had he landed that axe, I would have, expected to see probably a Ghost and an Ignite landing as well, and probably a chase down. Might not have been too wise, because that Nocturne could have came in, but that is how I expected it would have gone. Expected it to have gone. Of course, now Olaf is actually kind of running out of mana here, so he might just push and then head on back. We will see.
Yep, and over here we see Ahri getting that blue buff, so that's going to help her out in mid, as Karthus does have that blue buff as well.
One thing, I mean, we're not going to have the opportunity in this matchup, but maybe we'll see Just Your Average Joes tomorrow or the next day. I want to see what spells he's running. She is not running utility to get that extra 100 gold in the beginning of the game. Every game I've noticed that. I always notice that if you're not running the utility mastery to get that little bit of extra gold.
Yep, and we actually see a Hex Drinker being picked up by Olaf. That's going to help him in lane against the Vladimir.
Yeah, that certainly will, and actually we saw Zion Spartan pick that up last game too, as well, on Lee Sin, and I thought it was really going to help out. It didn't turn out to be a huge point of, a huge game-changing point, but I actually like the item better on Olaf. It just seems to have more synergy. If you build that Hex Drinker into a Maw Malmortius, then Olaf is not only getting more attack speed from his passive as he gets lower life, but he's also getting more attack damage from the item.
Yep,
as he gets lower in life.
Tristana and Nunu both were looking maybe to go mid here, but actually Nunu being caught out here, getting that knocked out by the tornado and the taunt coming in. Captain Korea picking up the kill on Nunu to even up the kills 2-2.
And Tristana has to use a rocket jump to get away. Is going to be safe. Lee Sin is coming through the lane for a gank here, and I kind of was just thinking, oh, maybe you'll go for a dragon there, but no, they're trying to get another kill and then maybe push for that dragon. I don't know that they'll be able to get it here. I don't know what their intention is, pushing up this far. Maybe they will go for a tower dive, but it's uncertain at this point.
Yep, Lee Sin's still just waiting right here. Meanwhile, over in middle, we see the Nocturne coming in with his ultimate, the Flash coming out to get away, but looks like he's not going to be able to. A lot of damage going on the Nocturne, actually, but he is going to be just fine.
Yeah, and I think we just saw why Jackie picked up that exhaust. Kind of baited Ari into ultimating into him, used exhaust so he didn't take an incredible amount of damage, and then was able to, sustain long enough for that Nocturne to jump in. Ari had already used her ultimate in an offensive fashion, couldn't use it to escape, and there was just enough slows coming down and that fear coming down from Nocturne to catch her right underneath her turret. Of course, Nocturne got a little bit low, but was okay, picked up the kill, no sweat off his back, and he is excited going back into the jungle.
Yep, up at top we see Zion Spartan forcing Vlad to pull out actually, and doing a lot of damage, using a mana push to get some mana back as this is going on. So he's really trying to put a lot of pressure on Pobelter, and landing that actually, and he's going to go in and do a lot of damage, but also taking a lot of damage. So they're about even in that trade.
Yeah, we saw, Pobelter took a lot of damage on Vlad, but then he used his Transfuse and got 83 life back. So that's pretty substantial. Of course, has that Hex Shrinker. Last game against Lee Sin, he actually rushed a Doran Shield as well. This game, foregoing the Doran Shield, probably because Olaf does a, pretty decent damage, or decent portion of true damage, which isn't going to be stopped by any armor, of course. We see Olaf running into the jungle. Not sure really what he's going to do here. He's probably not liking how the lane is going at the moment. And meanwhile, Curse is also kind of posturing up for Dragon down there. Spellsy getting caught, gets jumped on with Rocket Jump. Oh, but they push. Oh, they push caught backwards. That ultimate does get the kill off on Janna. It looks like Curse is going to escape. Captain Korea coming down from middle. Probably will land. Oh yes, does land that charm, lands the kill. So the trade supports there. Basically all the ultimates have been used up. Curse is probably worse for wear. Oh, and meanwhile, Pobelter just dives top, and they decide once again to have all the action go on at once.
Yep. So that was an interesting trade that went on over there. Actually, Lee Sin lands that Q, but he's not going to try to follow it up. Cobb is really low, but with some poke going down from Hood Stomp, but he's out of mana now, so he's not going to be able to do anything with that, and nobody gets the dragon.
Right. I was actually surprised that Lee Sin landed his Tempest and Cripple on Nocturne over the wall. I didn't really think it would have enough range to go over that wall, but it did. So far, we see that Curse has picked up a 2-kill lead and a 2,200 gold lead, so that's pretty substantial. I don't think it is the kiss of death quite yet. I feel like Kog'Maw will scale really well, do damage from a distance. I also do like Lee Sin a little bit better than Nocturne late game, but Nocturne's ultimate is quite handy and can be a turning point in a battle. You suddenly don't know where anyone is, and your AD carry is being jumped on. It looked momentarily like Curse was going to posture out for Dragon. Vlad was kind of heading down there towards there, but he notices that Olaf is farming up top and probably wants to go stop him from farming.
Yep, and so it looks like Nocturne is going to just take his own red. The Karthus came in here to take those raids actually. So getting that farm up, Karthus has the most farm in the game with 153 and has that Rod of Ages already.
Right, and we saw his ultimate do so much damage there. It looked like Spellsy was baiting out the rocket jump from Tristana while Lee Sin was waiting in the wind there, which was a great idea. Monsoon the Tristana back, really put Tristana out of position, but then she died to that Karthus ultimate, combined of course with the ultimate from Tristana. Was probably surprised that her bait, kind of turned around on her there. Meanwhile though, bottom, it does look like Kog'Maw and John are being a little bit more forceful in this Nuna-Tristana combination. Also, Curse is playing a little bit coy because they have Nocturne waiting in the wind. Meanwhile, up top...
actually, no, going in with the Karthus ultimate to back him up, the ultimate going down from Nocturne, that's going to be able to take down both Hood Stomp and the Spellsy. Meanwhile, up top, a gank from Lee Sin does help them take out Vladimir, but Vladimir is able to do enough damage to Lee Sin to finish him off. But this does mean a dragon for Curse, as bot lane has fallen for just your average Joes.
Right, and that's even had bot lane not fallen there, which they did fall in really, dominating fashion. The Karthus ultimate combined with all the other things really took them down. Pretty strong. Oh my goodness. Whoa, that was some fabulous footwork there middle by Captain Korea. As we saw last game, really great use of the ultimate. Of course, Karthus doesn't have his ultimate to take her out now. She barely died. That exhaust just not quite enough to prevent enough damage to her.
Yeah,
through that
and
Karthus.
it looked for a long time that Karthus was going to take it because he had that exhaust and is able to reduce Ari's damage by so much, but she was just using that ultimate to dance side to side and just finish off Karthus with that final little bit of burst damage.
Right, and it's really hard to hit people with Skittles if they're dancing all around, shadow dancing, or shadow dashing all about, or spirit rushing, as it were.
Shadow Dash is the Shen skill.
Shadow dances, yeah. He seems very shadowy and cat-like and exciting. But we see almost a 4,000 gold lead here for Curse. Of course, whenever you gank top, this late in the game, after 10 minutes, after 15 minutes, you're really putting Dragon in play for the other team. They can say, oh, hey, now we have a 4-on-3 bottom, so we can just force this Dragon fight. If they want to come interrupt, we try to catch them and kill them. But it's especially bad when you, of course, give up the kills bottom lane, but you have your gank top go 1-for-1. That is, it is worth it in the sense that, you get the assist gold as well, but it is certainly not worth it, if you were giving up the Dragon at the same time. Of course, they would have given up Dragon anyways because both bottom lane died, but even had bottom lane not died, essentially they would be giving up Dragon at that point. It looks like Zion Spartan is going to take down this turret, however.
Yep, and he does take it out. Curse Pobelter is going to come up to put a little damage on him, but it's not going to be enough to stop him. The axe going down to put more damage on this Vladimir. It's been actually an ult coming down from Vladimir. It looks like they're going to engage in this fight. They're committing and getting really low, and the pool coming down from Pobelter is able to keep him alive long enough to finish off the Olaf.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because we've often seen Sidco play top lane Vladimir for Curse, and it's kind of been said, oh, that's kind of what he plays. And so you see bans for that reason, but even with Sidco out, oh my goodness, and a Nocturne ultimate actually doesn't land on anyone because Ari uses her Spirit Rush to just dance away. Knew that gank was incoming and just was safely able to back away from it. Good call because any little bit of damage would have been her doom, as Karthus does have his ultimate up. Oh, and it does come down as an engage happens on bottom. Everyone looks like they're going to be able to walk away. It might have been a defensive ultimate. I sometimes do that with Karthus. I'm like, oh my goodness, my team's in trouble. I better ultimate and hope the other team backs away just for fun. And meanwhile, Pobelter takes down the turret up top. So it was kind of an exchange in turrets. Olaf took it, and then Vladimir took it. But Curse is just increasing their global gold advantage here, taking down those turrets. And Vladimir's kind of, being very forceful against that Olaf. Looks like they're going to exchange blows again here, but Olaf is not winning that. Lee Sin is coming up, but he does have to be a little bit worried that he dies before Lee Sin gets to him. And Vladimir's actually just going to be able to walk away with a troll pool, slowing down Olaf just a little bit. And that's what makes it so frustrating as a melee character. Not only is he getting away, not only are your projectiles not popping, but in addition to that, he's slowing you down, so getting you out of range of melee attacks.
Yep, and this ward here actually helping Pobelter see them coming, so he was able to back away, even though he was winning the fight against Zion Spartan.
Right. And, you always have to be wary. Whenever someone is trying to engage on you and you know they can't win the fight, you have to, think again, why exactly are they trying to fight here? And it's probably because they have help coming.
Yep, so the ward here of the jungle going down from Elements, they have good ward coverage of the jungle right now. If you see, they have pretty good vision in the jungle of Just Your Average Joe's jungle, sorry. Looks like they're both kind of grouping up around this area. Ping going down on their own blue by Just Your Average Joe's. Looks like they're going to try to start this. Elements is coming in here, so we'll see if he tries to steal it, but he might have to back off. The Pobelter's coming in as well, but there are too many members of Just Your Average Joe's to go in on that. And now they're all grouped around here, that ward coming down to get a little bit of vision, but no fight is going to break out.
In recent tournaments, we've really seen blue buff be a point of contention that teams are really willing to fight over. Two big pickups. We do see the Maw Malmortius now on Olaf, very exciting to see that. But on the other side, we see Tristana is the first one to get to her Infinity Edge, even though her farm is actually a little bit worse than Kog'Maw's, and Hoodstomp has done a really good job in all of these games, I believe, staying ahead in farm just by that little tiny bit. Kog'Maw is 2 kills down, so of course that that JYAJ goes first to Tristana, Karthus picking up Deathcap, and Nocturne picking up Aegis of the Legion. Actually, Nunu also picks up an Aegis, so really 2 Aegis picked up for Curse. A little bit unusual. We used to see that, a long while back, where you'd have multiple Aegises on your team, but, then it kind of fell out of favor. I really like it because it's a very gold-efficient item, and, I believe the range is like 1200. Oh my goodness, Nocturne.
Yep, Nocturne going in, using his ultimate, but Hashia jumping in on the Kog'Maw, and Kog'Maw is in trouble now. The rest of Curse is falling up, and they are able to take him out. The Cathian Surprise is not able enough to take down Nocturne, but Olaf is going to come here and try to jump on this Nocturne, but Pobelter's there as well, so he's going to have to back off after throwing that axe.
Yeah, that's unfortunate, and really quick thinking by Crumbs. Saw that Kog'Maw a little bit out of place, and it didn't look like his team was in a position to really take advantage of it. But he was basically able to do a lot of the work just on his own. Knew that Kog'Maw couldn't get away, and just went in for it, took the kill, and then they get a dragon because of that. So now 5 kills ahead, 6,000 gold ahead. That is a big lead for 22 minutes in. It's not insurmountable. Certainly they can come back here. Certainly Kog'Maw just picked up his Infinity Edge. That's going to go a long way in helping them out. But it is certainly, foreboding for Just Your Average Joes, and really unfortunate because they really dominated the first matchup. They're doing really well in the second matchup, and then Spellsy disconnected. And since Spellsy disconnected, it has just been all downhill.
Yep. So the game, certainly isn't over yet. The Just Your Average Joes does have a chance at coming back, so it could certainly happen. We actually see Rabadon's Deathcap being picked up by both Vladimir and Ari, so they're both going to start to do a lot more damage. Kog'Maw actually picked up an Infinity Edge recently, so he's also going to do a lot of damage as well. But the Tristana also with an Infinity Edge and that Vampiric Scepter, so, I mean, the Tristana is a bit ahead of the Kog'Maw at this point.
Yeah, and what we're also going to see at this point is, how does... I don't want to get too involved in my little recap here. If they were about to engage, and it looked like Ari and Karthus were dueling a little bit, they do back off. But how much is the 65 attack speed going to benefit that Tristana as compared to the 50 attack damage bonus that Janna will give Kog'Maw from her Eye of the Storm? And you have to consider that Kog'Maw or Nunu can actually keep that bonus up, on Tristana the entire time, and it can actually almost keep it up on 2 people for a lot of the time. Whereas Janna's shield, although it's 50 attack damage, which is really huge, it goes away as soon as damage is dealt. Whereas, of course, Nunu's Blood Boil just going to keep going for about 15 seconds every time it's used.
Yep, and Ari is just dodging those Skittles and clearing these waves, pushing it slightly. Both teams have pretty good ward coverage right now. If we look at the vision, I mean, this is decent. They have vision of both sides of the jungle. Meanwhile, actually the ward ran out over here, so actually ward's running out for Just Your Average Joes right now, so they don't have as good of a vision of the jungle. Right now, though, Curse has a ward on Baron, while Just Your Average Joes does not. But Tristana is bottom right now, so they do know that Curse is likely not going for Baron. Actually, right here, Vladimir engaging on the Ari, using that ultimate, and the Karthus ultimate going down, and wow. That Vlad ultimate able to take her out, and now they are grouping towards Baron.
Was that the Vlad ultimate, or was that the last tick of Ignite there? I wasn't certain, because actually Janna could, of course... Oh my goodness, and they're re-engaging, which is a really unusual call on here. Nocturne uses his ultimate to take out that Kog'Maw, and this is just going really against Just Your Average Joes. Olaf is really fighting to the death here, but yeah, they're not going to pick up anyone.
Yep, and Pobelter is really low, but is able to survive as the last burst by Tristana is able to take out Lee Sin. Now they're going to turn and take this Baron for free, and that's really going to push their advantage really far. And I mean, this is going to give them so much gold. This is going to put them more than 10k gold ahead, and they're going to have that Baron buff.
Yeah, I don't really know what Just Your Average Joes were thinking. Well, I do know exactly what they were thinking. They were thinking, oh my goodness, they just used a lot of their ultimates. They're out of position. We saw Tristana bottom. Maybe we can take advantage of this. But really, it wasn't a good call. Karthus still does a ton of damage, even without his ultimate. Nocturne's always waited in the wings there. And you saw Kog'Maw really get bursted down so fast. A little bit of damage from the Karthus, and then that Nocturne just rushing in there with his ultimate, yelling out darkness, running in with that paranoia, and there's reason to be afraid. Kog'Maw wasn't paranoid. Kog'Maw was actually being eaten alive. And he went down. Really, no one was low enough to be, for Kog'Maw to take advantage of Ichthyon's surprise. And though Olaf did a really good, really impressive job there, doing a lot of damage, it was very surprising how long he sustained and how much damage he did, kind of being in the midst of 4 curse players. It just wasn't a good fight to begin with. And I really think it was a surprise to everyone that Captain Korea died there. So that the final tick, I don't know whether it was Vladimir's ultimate or that ignite, but Spellsy could have popped her ultimate, I believe, to heal a little bit. And it's not usually a thought by Janna players, oh, I should pop my ultimate to grant that little bit of healing, but it was very, very close to to being able to save Captain Korea, save that Ahri, who was jumped on by that Vladimir, who did do that amplified damage from his ultimate, leading into Karthus' ultimate and Ignite, which just did so much and really surprised everyone, I think.
Yeah, and so now looks like a pretty significant lead. Curse hasn't really pushed any lanes yet, so not really taking advantage of that Baron buff quite yet, but looks like they're going to push middle. Vladimir's coming up from bottom, but looks like he might decide to go back down, kind of working in the jungle here, maybe looking for a way to get back up without running to the Lee Sin, putting the ward down, but the Kog'Maw chasing him away a little bit. So they haven't pushed any lanes yet. Oh, the wall going down, so now Tristana's going to use her increased attack speed with the Q to hit that tower and going to get down it to about below half health. So they're just going to wait for that next wave.
Substantial damage on there. And they have the advantage, well, they have 2 advantages here. One, they have an advantage that they can split push with Vladimir, because no one person can really take out Vladimir, I feel, at this point. I feel like he'll be able to get away. Even though his ghost is enough, he'll just be able to damage people and scare them away. And they can split push with Nocturne at the same time, and he can actually engage in team fights, because of his ultimate. So they are fighting middle here.
Oh, actually, and they are able to take down Karthus really quickly, but he does have that time spent dead to do damage, and does pop that ultimate, picking up kills on Lee Sin and Ahri, and Curse takes that fight handily. Meanwhile, the fight between Vladimir and Olaf ends in Vladimir's favor. As you said, Vladimir very strong right now, so that is an ace for Curse, and now they're going to be able to push down turrets, and the surrender vote goes down from Just Your Average Joes, giving Curse Game 3 and sending them to the round of 8.
Yeah, and that kind of happened just as I was kind of envisioning it. Curse just had the advantage where Nocturne could be split pushing, but at the same time, if a fight broke out, he could just jump in there with his ultimate, which he did do. The fight went in their favor, even though they kind of caught out Karthus and killed him. Well, Karthus still can do damage, still can do his ultimate, and then, of course, bottom lane, I was like, oh, well, Vladimir is stronger than any one person, so you're either going to have to send 2 people down there or just let him split push all day long. They only sent Olaf down there, and Vladimir was able to take him out. And, at the end of the fight there, Vladimir had quite a bit of his health left, so it wasn't really a close fight by any means either. Of course, everyone, please do switch over to GG Chronicle 2. That is our other channel where